Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Well, former President Donald Trump reacted with a string of insults to the new charges added against him in the Mar-a-Lago secret documents case. The special counsel, in a sense, doubled down on its document investigation, now accusing Trump of being part of a scheme to delete security camera footage of the property on a video server. NBC's Garrett Haake has more reaction.
Former President Trump on the attack tonight against prosecutors and those three new federal charges against him.
They're trying to intimidate people so that people go out and make up lies about me because I did nothing wrong.
In the new charges, the special counsel alleging Mr. Trump sought a cover-up to conceal classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago home by deleting surveillance video. Now charging a new defendant, Mar-a-Lago property manager Carlos de Oliveira, with 2 obstruction counts and with making false statements to the FBI. In the indictment, prosecutors say on June 23rd last year, the day after the government subpoenaed surveillance video from his home, the former president spoke by phone with de Oliveira for 24 minutes. The next day, Mr. Trump's personal aide, Walt Nauta, who's also been charged, allegedly changed his travel to go to Florida. On June 25th, prosecutors say, Nauta and de Oliveira looked at surveillance video in a Mar-a-Lago security booth and walked through a tunnel with flashlights pointing out cameras. 2 days later, de Oliveira spoke with an IT staffer identified as Employee 4, who told him the server retained camera footage for 45 days. De Oliveira allegedly saying the boss wanted the server deleted. The employee responded he would not know how to do that and that he did not believe he would have the rights to do that. De Oliveira allegedly insisting that that's what, quote, the boss wanted, asking, what are we going to do? The indictment does not say if any footage was deleted.
Fine people, and I don't think they think that the tapes were even changed. These were my tapes that we gave to them.
The new charges putting the Republican frontrunner in more serious legal jeopardy. But so far, each new indictment has been a political boost.
I'm the only person ever got indicted who became more popular. Because people understand it, they read it, they see it.
The new indictment also charges Mr. Trump with possessing a top-secret military document he has denied existed, but is heard on an audio recording discussing with aides and journalists.
It is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information.
Mr. Trump's GOP allies leaping to his defense, noting the new charges come one day after the DOJ's controversial plea deal for President Biden's son Hunter collapsed under a judge's scrutiny.
People are tired of these weaponized federal agencies, and that if your last name is Biden, you get to live by a different set of rules, versus if your last name is Trump, you get targeted by these agencies.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Well, great day in the morning. Hope everybody is doing well out there. Nice day again here in Maine. Not very hot out, and so I spent the day outside working on my truck. There's rust on it and stuff, and in this state they're really sticklers for rust, and if they see any rust on there, they're going to hold that against you, only because they want you to bring the vehicle to them so they can fix it, which goes back to what I was saying before, I think in a previous video, that they ought to have state inspectors do vehicle inspections, people who don't own garages and stuff like that, who have no skin in the game, basically they just go there, do their job, and go to the next vehicle. Okay, because if you let auto mechanics do the fucking job of inspecting your vehicle, yeah, they're going to find all kinds of things wrong with your car so you don't pass it. Okay, they're going to have you come in there for a little tiny nick of rust on a bolt on your vehicle, and that's what they're going to give you a sticker for. You know, so there's a flaw in that system. It needs to be reinvented here, where they have individual state inspectors that go around. You have, you know, and just do these inspections, and only that, and that's it. And they don't work for any garage or anybody like that. It saves a lot of hassle, I think. So anyway, Donald Trump's been indicted, as we all know already this week, for a whole shitload of things, okay? None of which has anything to do with the government, Joe Biden, trying to step all over his First Amendment rights, which seems to be what Fox News' angle is here at defending him. Every pundit they've had on their show here for the last few days is always bringing up, they keep going back to that argument of his First Amendment rights are being violated. You know, they're ignoring his First Amendment rights. Okay, and the charges leveled against him have absolutely nothing to do with his First Amendment rights. It's all about, you know, him committing fraud on the United States government by trying to overturn an election. That's got nothing to do with First Amendment, okay? A person can go out there, believe it or not, and say the things Donald Trump said about the election. He can lie and lie and lie all he fucking wants, which I have a problem with personally. I don't think the First Amendment was designed to protect lies. It was meant to be a door open for people who would have to say the truth, but the truth is something the government doesn't want anyone to speak, okay? It's to protect people's rights to be able to speak the truth, okay? It doesn't say a goddamn thing in there, you know, about allowing the lies to be protected, because that would be basically undoing the First Amendment, right? Because if you're going to let lies dominate the discussions, then you're basically, you know, you've just ruined the whole point of the First Amendment, which is to protect people's rights to have a venue to speak the truth and not be silenced because of it, okay? Anyway, the things Donald Trump said, although they weren't true, are protected under the First Amendment, you know, and you know, it took so long for a lot of these charges to get, you know, ironed out and I'm sure tested to see whether or not they would actually hold up in court. I mean, they got all kinds of more evidence than you could possibly imagine. Okay, that's why everybody's saying this is a slam dunk case, because we got Trump on tape, we got Trump with his fucking handwritten notes, and we got Trump, you know, witnesses coming out his ass. I mean, we got all kinds of things, you know, and plus lawyers on top of lawyers that you know, they're all cutting deals. You know, the rats have been running from the sinking ship here for months now. So this is a guy, like I said before, is very poor on covering his tracks. Okay, he's not very good. He's created so many problems that there's no way in hell anybody could cover this man's ass. Okay, not even Trump himself. And even though he's made attempts, like have his son go out and try to defend or speak for him, okay, it doesn't work because people don't see any proof to back up the defense of Trump. Okay, all they keep throwing out there is, you know, this is what happened. That's what, and they don't offer any fucking hard evidence to back up the things that Trump was saying, which was something that we've been after that side for what, how many years? 60 court cases, and every damn one of them said there's no evidence here to back up your claim. Okay, they threw it out. And so what does Trump do? He says, oh, they're all against me. Everybody's against him. You know, the whole world's against him. You know, the whole damn world is a conspiracy against him personally. You know, talk about a friggin' narcissist. Jesus, you know, he thinks life is about him. You know, Richard Nixon was that way too. He suffered with that, and he was on medication, for Christ's sake, and even that couldn't control him. But he would go around saying, "Oh, everybody's against me. They're trying to destroy me." You know, it's like, you create the fucking world you live in. You know, you think you can go around and break laws and ruin people's lives and none of that shit comes back to haunt you? Of course it does. It always does. You know, how many times do we have to hear about a true story that happened where somebody's out there doing all kinds of rotten things, and at the end of the day, it all comes back, okay? It always happens. Why try? Why bother? And when you're on the scale of being the president of the United States and you're committing crimes, hey, it comes out. It comes out, you know? And for Trump, he doesn't want to answer for what he did, which means he shouldn't have done the crimes in the first place if he couldn't be honest about it. Okay? He shouldn't have done it. And he should have done this country a service by just coming forward and admitting what he did and putting this to bed so the country can move on and deal with its problems instead of him being on the front page of every newspaper in the country or in the world for that matter. Okay? It's embarrassing, you know, that somebody like that seems to be so untouchable. And the thing of it is about that point is there's a lot of Democrats out there who are of the same mindset, thinking that he's he's got his bases covered and, you know, they're never going to get him. Okay, well, let me tell you something about that. The Republican Party is not as unified as some people might think. Okay, they are split. They are split because you got DeSantis on one side, who isn't really anybody's darling here, because, you know, even the Republicans aren't really behind him, and he's spending money like you wouldn't believe in his campaign, and he's not getting anywhere. Okay, his approval numbers are lower than snake piss, and he's just not getting anywhere. Okay, and while he's doing his campaign, on the other hand, he's out there continuing to attack society over there in Florida. Okay, with his book bans and, you know, his attack on the teachers and you know, basically the institutions that, you know, we rely on in this country to keep our nation strong. He's attacking all that. Okay, by saying that it's all wrong. You know, these things are not American and all, and he offers nothing to show that what he's saying has any merit. Okay, another one who won't prove his point. He just goes around like a typical Republican making accusations. Okay, and when questioned by a reporter, they fall back on tropes and bumper sticker slogans, and they don't have any proof to offer anybody. But yet people at home watching these interviews and stuff like that don't bother to wonder why they can't answer that question. Okay, they don't ask themselves, well, how come he keeps evading the fucking question every time they ask him? Why does he keep running off on the mouth on some other damn tangent that had nothing to do with it? Okay, why do they do that? They never ask themselves that. Okay, you got to ask yourself, why is it when somebody asks you what's 1 + 1 and they say, you know, this arithmetic is something that's, you know, if they can't answer the goddamn question, all right, then obviously they're hiding something. That's such a given. Any person that does detective work or works in the police department knows that's a red flag right then and there. Okay, and why people keep doing that in the political parties when they don't want to answer a question is ridiculous, because you're giving yourself away. You obviously have an answer, but you don't want to say it because you know people aren't going to like it. All right, and that only encourages reporters to keep digging even more into what's going on. Okay, and while you're sitting there denying it left and right, people are finding evidence to back up that you're the one that's lying and you're the one that's not answering the question because you know the answer. And what happens at the end of the day? You walk around with egg on your face, okay, and you're not trusted anymore. Well, Trump used up all his friggin' excuses. Okay, he used up all his favors. And as far as free-minded thinkers are on this country, he's shit. He's really reduced to that. And for people who want to live in their bubbles and they want to continue to live with the notion that there's still life left in this guy, you know, for another 4 years okay, you know, I pity you, because you're never ever going to be free of the ignorance that you put yourself in by following a man such as him. Okay, there's really nothing that I could say that's ever going to change your mind. But for the Democrats out there who are still of the frame that, oh, well, it's hopeless, you know, the Republicans control 20 some odd states, some of them barely, you know, they have their strong party. I'm saying is, yeah, well, you're looking at this at one level, okay, but you're not bothering to dig deeper into that level, okay? There's strife inside the Republican Party. There really is. You don't see it, okay, because you're not really looking, but it's there. It's being reported on in various different publications online, and if you're not digging around enough to find out, then I suggest you go back and redouble your efforts, because there's stuff, you know, as recent as like a week ago, showing how Republicans are like in debt in some states here, getting donations for campaigns and stuff, you know, for their thing. The donors aren't there in force like they used to be, okay? They may still be there for some states, but in other states, they're falling short of their goals, okay? And right now, Republican voters are becoming more and more fragmented as time goes on with these trials with Trump, of where they're going to stand during Election Day, okay? And, you know, Chris Christie's out there, and he's really, you know, poking holes into the Republicans' confidence, if you will, on what they're going to be able to accomplish in 2024, next year. You know, and as much as, you know, I don't really like Chris Christie, the things that he says can't be very positive as far as Republicans go, because, you know, he's attacking Trump, he's attacking DeSantis, you know, he's basically forcing the Republicans to take a look at this thing, you know, not from a Democrat, but from a Republican angle, which, you know, they're either going to listen to him or they're not, okay? I don't know if it's really going to matter if it's coming out of Chris Christie's mouth or if it's coming out of, you know, some Democrat. It's really going to be up to them. Are they willing to listen to the truth, okay, or are they just going to continue on at this rate of a dream, you know, dream world that they're living in, and just keep going down this yellow brick road here, okay, which is where they seem to want to go. And I think that, you know, when you look at people being questioned at the rallies, when you ask Republicans questions about certain things, and their answers are very abstract and not very coherent, you know, in fact, some of them are just downright ridiculous. That to me does not signify a unified party, because a unified party would come up with the same answer, right? When everybody agrees that an answer is true, they're all going to parrot the same answer. But when you talk to individual Republicans about things, about what's happening right now with Donald Trump and all that, you're not going to get that. You're going to get repeats, echoes of things they've heard on Fox News, and they won't even understand why Fox News is saying what they're saying, but they remember that and they use it, and they can't back it up when they're cornered with where they get this information from and how they believe it. You know, they can't go into it with any detail, because they're treading on waters that they have never treaded on before. Okay, and I would think, as a person, you know, who's a member of a party and can't answer some of these what sounds like basic questions, what, you know, any 3-year-old or 4-year-old who's even aware of what's going on in politics would have some answer to. Why these people can't seem to be unified or say the same thing about something, you know, because every night they hear something different. Because what's going on is the people that they're watching, that they get their information on, are busy trying to throw shit on the wall to see what'll stick. That's why their excuses change. Now, right now they're saying it's the First Amendment that they're attacking Trump on. Next week it's going to be something else, okay? Because the First Amendment argument's not going to stick. I can tell you right now, because the Democrats are already showing people what the indictment and what the charges are on the indictment, and there's nothing on there that says anything about the First Amendment. So in a few days, that story is going to change. It ain't going to have anything to do with that, and the lawyers are going to have to come back with some other excuse. I think the more recent one was something to do with 1960 or John F. Kennedy in Hawaii or something like that, about having these alternative electors and stuff, which basically is just a smokescreen. I don't think that really has anything to do with what Trump was trying to do with these fake electors, but I think they're trying to pull something out of their hat that they can use to say, well, if John F. Kennedy did it, but it's not something that has anything to do with what Trump was doing. Trump was doing, okay, was getting these electors to come in at the last minute when the tide was turning against him, to have these people go in there and reverse that tide. Okay, that's not what was going on in John F. Kennedy's time there. Okay, so again, they're depending on people not taking the time to research any of this stuff. That's why they don't like people learning about history. Okay, it's harder to fool people when the information is out there to be had, you know. But like I said, in a few days, that argument's going to go away because it ain't going to hold water. And if they're going into this defense, especially Trump's attorneys, if they're going into this defense thinking that's how they're going to defend him, they really don't have anything. Okay, because the charges that he's going to be answering to have absolutely nothing to do with they're not even going to bring the First Amendment up. So this is just wasting time as far as I'm concerned. You know, what'll happen is it'll be a case that's going to get right out of control, and the defense is not going to be able to really put up much of a fight, because with all the charges listed that he's indicted on, okay, the First Amendment's not going to protect him from any of that, you know. But like I said, there's still people out there that thinks the Republicans are sitting pretty right now. And they may be in some aspects, okay? They may control some states, okay? But that's different, I guess, than controlling the government. And I think that's what we're trying to do, because, see, from the government point of view, they can make laws where states won't have the right to be able to take people's rights away from them, because it's all guaranteed to them on the federal level. And I don't think states should have the right to be able to impose their own views contrary to the federal government's views on what's allowed or not allowed in their state. I mean, why even bother having a united states if you're not going to be united, right? What's the point of that? You might as well be like the Soviet Union was, just a collection of different countries, you know, all doing their own damn thing, okay? But it's just, you know, it's about, you know, basically, you know, people getting to find out what it is, the details behind, and how it applies to the law. You know, these trials. I mean, people really need to know the backstory to some of this stuff, which we were getting. They also need to see the law in action and how the things that he did, that Trump did, were not right, and where these crimes fall on the ladder of legal terms. Okay, where are these crimes considered crimes as far as the rule of law goes? Because a lot of people, I think, they're getting their information in the wrong places, and they're being totally spun as to what constitutes a crime. So I think people really need to see this and understand, you know, this is a crime because, okay, this is a crime because, okay. They have to understand that. I mean, it's you can't just sit there and say, well, this law, he broke all these laws. Okay, no, you're gonna have to teach this to society. You're gonna have to teach society what they should have already learned, I guess, in some degree. But you're gonna have to show society why Trump is sitting here in court. Why is he being charged with these crimes? Why are they crimes? Okay, because we don't know. We're not all lawyers. Okay, we can't all be lawyers. But we can't allow lawyers to, you know, confuse us, smokescreen us, so we never learn anything out of it, out of the trials and stuff like that. I think we need to know from a fact why this was considered a crime and why it hurts democracy in our country. That's what we need to know. That's why I'm hoping that, you know, this trial or whatever that's going to happen will somehow be televised in some parts or whatever. I don't know how much of it will, if any of it, okay? But I'm hoping it does, because I think it's something America really needs to see, because it's going to be educational for one thing, and it's going to put the facts in people's faces who don't want to believe that Trump did anything wrong, okay? Now, whether they want to absorb that or just simply deflect it, that's up to them, okay? They can live in ignorance all they want, but don't come and piss on my head and tell me it's rain, okay? Because, you know, we're smarter than that. At least I think I'm smarter than that. But, you know, don't try and sell us the same bottle of swill, because it ain't working, you know. And I think that we deserve, as the American people, if we're going to put an ex-president on trial here for crimes he committed against this country, then we as Americans deserve to see that trial, like we are all the jury. Because really that's kind of where we are. Because we all voted, right? So we all should be present here on this case to see for ourselves what the hell went on with this man. What the hell did he do? Okay? And, you know, what his crimes are and how he's going to have to answer for that because of this, and this, okay? And how democracy is the thing being abused here. Democracy is the victim in all this shit, and we don't see it, okay? It's not a person. It's not sitting, you know, on the side of the prosecution and stuff. You know, democracy is the unseen victim in all this. And while we're going through this trial, it's still being attacked. It's still being beaten on by the same folks that have already tried to destroy it on January the 6th. So, you know, the rest of us who are family of democracy, you know, we can either sit back and let democracy keep getting beat on until it dies, or we can stand up and defend it, okay, and protect it, and shooing the bullies away from it, okay? I don't know how better else to kind of display that, you know. Anyway, let's go to a commercial break. Be right back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Yes, the medical stuff, I'm very good on that, so that does appeal to me.
The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. You know, I'll just say this one thing. Trusting the experts is not a function of science. It's not a function of democracy. It's a function of religion and totalitarianism.
He flooded Facebook with the information that measles vaccine is killing children in Samoa. As a consequence, vaccination rates fell from 70% to 30%. There were 57,000 cases of measles and 83 deaths. Most of those deaths were in children less than 4 years of age.
Your physician is getting paid bonuses, in many cases $400 per vaccine. It's the product of a pharmaceutical-driven biosecurity agenda that will enslave the entire human race. The World Health Organization is even more captured than CDC is. I see somebody on a hiking trail with carrying a little baby, and I say to them, better not get them vaccinated. You cannot trust medical advice from medical professionals.
Sick him on the FDA if he'd be willing to serve, or sick him on CDC.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Okay, so I'm going to jump here into this article from the Big Picture. It was written yesterday, and the hell? Okay, and it's about Trump here, and it's entitled "Trump's Defenses Aren't Aimed at the Courtroom." Since the moment the first indictments dropped against ex-President Trump, he has been beating a consistent drum to try and sway the public opinion against the inquiries and prosecutions, and to grift ever more money from his loyal followers, which, yeah, that's what he's been doing. On his social media platform, Truth Social, and in stump speeches ahead of the GOP primaries, Trump has made a number of claims rather consistently. It's useful at this point to gather them together and assess their purpose and likely impact. It's also helpful to understand why these claims may be working with his base yet appear not to be convincing voters outside of it. Further, it's important to understand why he continues to assert them, even though none of it is going to wind up mattering in court. Trump seeks to characterize the various prosecutions and investigations as mere continuations of his earlier legal issues. Those included Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election and Trump's 2 impeachments by Congress. Unfortunately, as Trump loves to highlight, those efforts failed to result in any legal consequences for him. Trump now labels them as quote-unquote hoaxes to cast doubt upon all the current investigations as similarly baseless boxes hoax. To Trump and his followers, the investigations and indictments are all politically motivated witch hunts. And here's I guess this is from his Truth Social. This is something he posted here. And he writes, "Every time you see these radical lunatics and their partners in the fake news media talking about the trials and tribulations of President Donald J. Trump, please remember that it is all a coordinated hoax, just like Russia. The, quote, no collusion, unquote, Mueller witch hunt, the fake dossier, FISA fraud, and all the rest in order to steal another election through prosecutorial misconduct at levels never seen before in the United States. Deranged Jack Smith has already spent over $25 million. You know, okay, that's what he posted on his Truth Social. Trump even uses the phrase often to urge his base to text to donate to his campaign, which has now spent some $40 million on legal fees. Okay, a witch hunt refers to a search for a crime or a criminal where none, in fact, exists. But in each of the charged or soon-to-be charged matters, there is strong and in some cases overwhelming evidence of criminal activity. For example, there was an actual recovery of over 100 classified and even top-secret national security documents from a Mar-a-Lago pursuant to a search warrant issued by a federal judge. That's why the label witch hunt doesn't stick well outside his base and conservative-leaning independents. For many Republican voters, though, this creates strong cognitive dissonance. A Reuters poll last month, for example, found only 35% of the GOP respondents said it was, quote-unquote, believable that Trump illegally kept any classified documents, despite clear evidence of what the FBI recovered from the search. The remaining 65% appear ready to believe Trump's lies over what their own eyes can see. Trump frequently points out that the current indictments are coming 2.5 years after he left office, well past the date he declared his intention to seek the nomination. To his followers, he claims this is blatant, quote, election interference, unquote, meaning that the Justice Department allegedly held its fire until Trump was leading in the polls. This ignores the fact that Trump declared his presidential candidacy in November of 2022 long before any other candidates. He did this on precisely in order to get out ahead of any potential indictments, and so he could claim the Justice Department was acting with political motivation when it finally and inevitably did indict him. This line of attack also ignores the fact that shortly after Trump announced he was running, Merrick Garland appointed a special counsel, Jack Smith, in order to wall the Justice Department off and allow an independent prosecutor to move forward. This is, in fact, what is supposed to happen in such a politicized situation. And you simply can't get more independent than having a special counsel appointed. To argue that any indictment of a presidential candidate is off limits leads to an absurd conclusion that politicians can simply avoid investigation and charges simply by beginning to campaign, which is what Trump seems to be doing. You know, the way he uses his campaigns as a force field to deflect from having to do anything or answer for anything that he did as a crime. That defies common sense, and it isn't the law. Republicans surely wouldn't ease on Hunter Biden, for example, if he suddenly decided he wanted to run for president. That's certainly true. They've been after Hunter Biden for how many years now? I can't even remember how long this has been going on. Probably almost as much as the damn what the hell was that thing that was always after Hillary Clinton about there? You know, this is getting to be as old as that. I mean, and they haven't found anything there to back up their damn story about how Biden's son is you know, corrupted or anything. You know, jeez. Speaking of Hunter Biden, within the Fox and OAN information bubble, the legal troubles of the president's son garner far more attention and time than the investigation and indictments of the former president. Trump exploits this information and reality gap by trying all major developments in his case to what Republicans are most focused on, Hunter Biden. Yeah, only the Republicans give a shit about that. The younger Biden has been investigated by a Trump-appointed prosecutor no less for more than 5 years. That prosecutor ultimately recommended a plea deal resulting in probation and no jail time. Were Hunter Biden not the president's son, he probably would never have been charged at all, based on the allegations in the plea deal. But that doesn't stop Trump from putting Hunter Biden on blast 24/7, claiming he got a sweetheart deal from the corrupt Justice Department. You know, he's got a flair of being able to you know, paint such a broad picture with all kinds of colors, you know, when he takes something, you know, like this. That's what the people that support Trump like about him, is his way of blowing things out of proportion, okay? He's good at that. In the MAGA mindset, everything in Washington, in particular the White House, must come back to Hunter Biden, even though the charges are for nothing more than the non-payment of taxes and a false statement in obtaining a handgun. Perhaps they can't imagine Trump not intervening in an investigation of his own family. But contrary to the noise coming from the right, the White House simply doesn't spend its time obsessing over the case, and the Justice Department doesn't either. Nor does one part of the Justice Department investigating the Hunter Biden case in Delaware coordinate in any way with an independent special counsel investigation into the former president. It's extraordinary to suggest such a connection, and such a claim therefore requires extraordinary proof. But there has been none so far. The GOP traffics so regularly now in conspiracy theories, however, that they can convince their base of nefarious string pulling with little more than a, quote, we're just asking questions, unquote, segment on Fox. What about Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton? Another go-to of the former president is to harp on the notion that classified documents were mishandled by Joe Biden when he was vice president, and by Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State, but they aren't being prosecuted. He also grossly and incorrectly characterizes what was found at Biden's home and office. Trump further ignores the fact that his own vice president, Mike Pence, also had classified documents and that there is, in fact, a special counsel investigating Joe Biden's possession of such documents. As far as Hillary Clinton goes, and Bill for good measure, Trump trends on some thin ice when he raises her alleged deletion of emails off a server. Trump is suggesting that his efforts to delete video surveillance footage from Mar-a-Lago servers, now charged as 2 counts of obstruction in his federal case in Miami, was not a crime because Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were never charged. The key difference in this, of course, is that whether it's Biden, the Clintons, or Pence, none of these other officials tried either to retain documents after they inadvertently took them, nor did they attempt to cover anything up or keep the government from recovering them. Trump simply stands in a different light, and the trial will have a way of focusing and educating the public as to why. It's important to recognize that none of the above arguments, politically motivated witch hunt, election interference, Hunter Biden distraction, Hillary's emails, are ever going to see the light of day in court. They simply aren't relevant to the charges leveled against him. So why does Trump spend so much time publicly attacking the investigations and the prosecutions, even at high risk of making serious admissions against his own interest, if these aren't going to be part of his actual defense? For starters, Trump believes the only way out of his legal predicament is to win the election. And to do that, he has to win in the court of public opinion. If he can outrun the indictments, at least the federal ones, and pull off an election victory, he can make the federal charges go away, or so he believes. Further, Trump knows that any potential jury, especially for his federal case in Miami, will draw from heavily red state voter country. His efforts to portray the charges as a politically driven witch hunt designed to deny him the presidency, while giving his political enemies a pass, might resonate strongly enough to infect the likely jury pool. Finally, and this is less often acknowledged, Trump uses social media as a way to enforce and amplify the messaging he wants his underlings and allies in Congress to parrot. Farther down the chain, it also helps telegraph to would-be witnesses what story Trump wants them to tell if and when they speak to investigators or testify before the grand jury. In short, it's all very modern-day mob boss in nature. Trump doesn't really have very many good defenses that he can actually use in court successfully, just as we saw in the E. Jean Carroll case. The only way he can beat this is to win back the White House and use the powers of that office to drop the charges or even undo the convictions. Voters need to see his missives then for what they are, a way to stand above the law once again and be unaccountable to anyone. The law will soon do its part to show Trump cannot succeed, but it's up to us voters to do that, to do the rest. And, you know, that's really the thing. In a nutshell, what I was trying to say in the last segment here about, you know, all the people out there with the doom and gloom thing that, oh, you know, it's, you know, Trump isn't cooked. Nobody, you know, they're never going to get the bastards and the Republicans are going to get everything. Okay, the fact is, at the end of the day, it's really up to the voters, okay? And there's way more Democrat voters out there than there are Republicans, and we proved that when we came out and voted against Trump in the last presidential election, okay? It was, I mean, somebody had said, you know, let's compare what happened in Trump-Biden election with Gore-Bush election, okay? The election back in 2000 was very close, okay? It was they were counting like every last fucking vote in that case, okay? There was grounds then to do the kind of things that Trump's saying now if Gore wanted to do it, okay? But that wasn't the kind of man Gore was. He wasn't going to go around crying, they cheated me out of an election. They used the Supreme Court to decide who was going to be president, which is unprecedented in American history. Okay, he could have gone out there and done the same fucking thing. And the Democrats at that time probably would have been like the Republicans are today with Trump. We would have been standing behind Gore on that. The only difference is that, you know, back then there was some shenanigans that went on in Florida that could be considered to be election interference. Okay, if it was properly investigated, certainly a lot of things came out about it that certainly didn't look above board to me. But, you know, we were really told to shut up and accept Bush as president, and therefore the press really didn't want to go any further with the investigation, and so, you know, case closed as far as that was concerned. But in the back of all of our minds, we knew Bush shouldn't have been sitting in the White House, okay? But in the situation with Trump, Biden, the election wasn't close, okay? Millions of votes apart, okay? There was no landslide, like Trump was trying to say, you know, after the election. Oh, it was a landslide victory, trying to steal it. You can't steal a landslide victory, for Christ's sake. I mean, how the hell can you get every state in the country to all work together to siphon out votes and stuff like that without leaving a single little piece of evidence behind? You can't take a shit without leaving evidence behind that you did, okay? There's no way you can coordinate a massive fucking national conspiracy like that to oust a candidate running for president. You can't do it. It's going to leave traces. It's going to leave stuff. And the best they could come up with was this stupid little shit woman here, loudmouth girl, trying to come out and say, oh, I saw some ballots being moved around and everything. You know, talking about something that had nothing to do about what she thought was going on. It was just people, you know, a shift change, lunch being passed around and stuff, and she said, you're saying, oh, they were kicking around boxes filled with, you know, that none of that stuff happened because there was no proof of it, okay? Nobody was stacking the fucking ballots, okay? Nobody was doing anything like that. That's ridiculous, okay? And if it was only happening in that one area, that certainly wouldn't have been enough to tilt a whole election against Trump, right? They'd had to have been doing that in every fucking state in the country, or the majority of them anyway. Okay, but you know, none of the people saw any sign that these things were happening. It was what was it they said? We had the most turnout of any election in this country. Okay, and it was a lot of people liked the idea of being able to vote early or get ballots at home. Okay, which the Republicans don't like now. They stopped that from happening because, hey, we don't want to make it easy for anybody to vote. If you're sick or something, or you're handicapped and you can't, well, too bad, you ain't gonna vote. They don't want to make it easy. Okay, they're trying to shut you up is what they're doing. But you know, they said it was the biggest voter turnout. Okay, and everybody showed up to vote. So that tells you right before the votes were even counted, okay, that there was going to be a lot of votes counted. It was going to be a lot of counting to do, okay? And what Trump was trying to do was confuse people. You see, the votes that were mailed in weren't counted first. The ones that were done that day were counted first, okay, because they're right there. So when they started counting the votes that went on that day, yeah, it looked like Trump was ahead. When they started counting in the mail-in ballots, that all of a sudden flipped. And that was when everybody said, oh, that's cheating, it's cheating, there's doing something wrong. Well, if there was any cheating, they haven't found any evidence about it. I mean, how the hell are you going to hide the fact that, you know, so many ballots came in, okay, that were mailed in, not tampered with, because they could have easily suggested or even pointed out they were tampered with, okay, if any of those things were. And certainly in as broad a scale as Ms. Powell, you know, the Kraken lady was trying to say that, oh, there's so much evidence out there that, you know, it's the Kraken. Where? Okay, if there was that much evidence out there, we ain't seen it. Okay, there is no Kraken. Okay, it certainly would have been, considering what they were saying happened. If it did happen, all right. I mean, if the Democrats had pulled off a scam as big as they want to think it was, then yes, there would have been a Kraken evidence out there to suggest that yes, this was happening on a multi-state level here. You know, not just the counties, but in whole states. Okay, that people's votes were being dumped and replaced with pro-Democrat, whatever. You know what I'm saying? There would have been proof of that. People would have found dumped ballots all over the goddamn place. I mean, how the hell are you going to hide shit like that? You can't. Okay? You just can't. There's always people around. There's always cameras around. Okay? And people would have seen evidence of big trucks hauling off shit and stuff like that. Nothing. Not a peep, not a nothing. And you can't say that, oh, everybody's again. You know, that's QAnon shit, deep state, you know, aliens from Mars. You know, that's the same kind of scale of bullshit you're going to hear, okay? This wasn't everybody in America fighting against Trump, okay? That's not what was going on. This was an honest vote and people speaking their mind in that vote, and the Republicans couldn't live with it. They just couldn't live with it, you know? Just like Carrie Lake can't live with the fact she lost her gubernatorial election here, okay? And now she's living out in Mar-a-Lago. I don't know why she's living with Trump out there, because that certainly speaks of something pretty racy there going on. I don't, you know, what's he running around on his wife with her or something? I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole other matter. But the fact is that, you know, like I said in this thing, you know, every excuse Trump has thrown at the people, not so much the courts, but he's focused, like they said, on the court of public opinion. So every time he gets in front of a camera, he's talking to the people. He's not talking to the politicians. He's not talking to the judges. He's talking to the people, because he thinks that's where his benefit lies. Okay, even though right now the numbers of people in his pocket are dwindling. Okay, because a lot of people are getting tired of riding this fucking train to nowhere. All right, and the more this train goes on, the dirtier it's getting, because, you know, they keep finding more charges to throw at him. I mean, this fucking guy is a walking box of charges. He probably has a dresser drawer filled with paperwork, you know, of fucking court dates and shit like that, where, you know, he's got to show up and defend himself. But, you know, I certainly wouldn't want to live in that guy's shoes, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's really what it is Trump is just really trying to twist, you know, people's perceptions of what's going on, and Fox News is happily trying to help them with that. You know, like it or not, they haven't learned anything. Getting rid of Tucker Carlson didn't do a damn bit of good, which I figured would be the case. Okay, there's always a mouth out there for somebody, and so they're still out there trying to defend Trump, even though we got recordings from people like Hannity and Ingram saying some pretty, you know, awful things about Trump when they thought they weren't being recorded. And we find out that they're not really friends to Trump either. Okay, but what they tell you on the TV and what they say when the camera's off are two different things. Okay, they're not really with him on that. So he's, you know, the party is not unified. The Republican Party is not unified. It's fragmented, okay? And the longer this goes on, the more fragmented it becomes. By this time next year, it could be worse. You know, I don't know. Time will tell. Anyway, I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Please subscribe, comment, and keep your ears open for COVID-19 news. And please treat each other kindly, and understand that goodwill gets its reward, you know, good karma and everything. Certainly would be good for us to try and do more of that. It probably would help to stabilize the country's morale, which we all need pretty bad, I think. We're all kind of wore out from this shit, so, you know, we really need to have a boost in our morale, do some good things, make good memories and stuff like that, you know. All right, take care, everybody. I'll talk to you later.